Hi everyone, so I did the part of the video where I showed you the beautiful fabrics that Tatiana at Sophia Grace had gifted me, and this is what I've actually made with two sheets of the fabric, which is the big sister fabric and the little sister fabric. And this is how many bows I've got out, bearing in mind that this is like one of the really bigger ones, and this is a double layer of a medium and small, and then some small ones. And I want to show you something because I tend to be like, the reason I don't make many of these bows is because I don't like waste fabric, so I'm very cautious with like how much waste I actually use. So I'm very like, I plan out my whole thing to make sure that there's as minimal waste as possible. So from those two sheets, this is all I have left over, and at the moment I have an airing circle die on order so that I can use these little scraps and turn them into like little airing or little hair clips instead, rather than wasting anything, because like I said, I don't like a lot of waste where I can manage it. So this is out of two sheets, is all I've got left, which realistically is quite impressive considering I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bows, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you take into consideration the layers on a couple of them, it does work out quite well. So what I do with all of my templates is I cut them out with paper or card or anything like that before I actually start putting my materials through. And then what you can do is with these, because I've got the 3 sizes and the 3 tail sizes, you can take your fabrics, and it doesn't matter whether or not they're landscape or horizontal, but horizontal is typically easier. Let's move these ones out of the way for us, and then I will show you how I plan mine out. So with my templates, I'm going to mix it up, excuse my hair everywhere. So I think again I'm going to do some big ones and some medium layer ones and things like that, but the other thing is you have to work out which tails you're going to use. So if you're doing a big bow, you want to do one big set of tails. So on this tropical palm print, I'm going to do 2 big ones, and you can also mix and match tails. So if you wanted to use them with them, don't need 2 layers, but so with my pencil, and I always do like the faintest lines so you can't see them when we're working, is go down and give it a little bit of space, because if the fabric slips as you're putting it through the big shot, you want a little bit of wiggle room just in case it moves, and like I said, you're still getting your loops, because like I said, if you haven't got a little bit of wiggle room and it slips too far, you'll end up losing that whole chunk of fabric because you've cut off a little bit of your loop at the bottom, and obviously that's the worst thing that can happen, especially if you're anything like me and naturally just a tiny bit like, I'm just naturally clumsy, and like I said, my big shot does do things like slipping when I put fabric through, because I'm not the steadiest hand person. Like, it just always sometimes just goes a little bit out of my control, if that makes sense. And obviously when things like that happen, that's when, like I said, you lose bits of fabrics and stuff like that. So take that into consideration, especially if you are a natural klutz like me. So there we go. And then we've got our biggest tail set, which is this one, which fits nicely into this little bracket here. And we can move that along. We can carry on that line that we've done here along to the end. And then mark out that bit. And then it depends. Now with these, like I said, if you might occasionally fit a medium, but you're much more likely to get your smaller ones. So as you can see, with these, you can fit quite a couple. So the thing that I do is, like I said, work out little bit of wiggle room for it to be cut. There. And then we repeat. The other thing that I use when I'm doing my big shot is I use a little bit of masking tape. So when I'm putting like 2 or 3 layers of material through, I know it's going to sit on my big shot as well, so that it doesn't move and slip about, because again, when you're like a little bit challenged in that way, that's when it can be a little bit more and then we've got just enough room for this one. I'm going to give it a little bit of wiggle room, and then realistically from that whole sheet, the only bit that we are not using is this little tiny section here. And if you think about it, if you take into consideration like 4 of those, so 1, 2, 3, 4, or across there, you're pretty much using up that section. So it's this teeny tiny little bit, and if you wanted to, you could probably, for a different project, or like sort of mix and matching your tails and things like that, you could probably get away with that one, another tiny set of tails, so you'll literally only losing like that tiny little bit there. So this is why I do this, because like I said, for me, like I said, it makes sense because I'm getting the very, very, very most out of my fabric every time, and then I don't feel so bad about cutting into it and like using it, if that makes sense. So then I just cut it into my sections. And I love this fabric because it is so soft, like insanely soft and pinchable. This material is absolutely, if you're doing pinch bows instead of just these standard bows, it is perfect for those as well. But yes, I just cut it all into my little bits. The other thing I do to remind me of which bits I'm doing is, I know that's for those, that is for those. Across the bottom. For my large tails, for those, and then for my big bow loops. And I have the quad die, which is a multi die one, and I believe it's from Felt Better, but I'll put it in the description below. But this is my Felt Better quad die, and it's got the 3 bow sizes on it. So you've got the large, the medium, the small, the large, medium, small tails, and the sizes for the cutouts for your centres. Couldn't get my words out for a second there. But yeah, so there you go. There's all your sizes, and that's all you've got left for your tails. So like I said, that is not very much fabric at all, and like I said, you can plan this out. You can use, obviously you get more if you're using more of just the medium and the small rather than the medium and the large. But like I said, you can play around, and like I said, use these as guides to like perfectly work out like the very minimum amount of fabric that you can possibly sort of lose when you're doing this. And then I'll show you how I set them up on my just lost track of myself. Quad die. I'll show you how to put it through and make them all up. So this is my little bits of masking tape. So I've got a bit of glue, as you can see, got a little bit of masking tape on it. The masking tape doesn't affect your die, and it won't affect your cutting, it won't affect the material in any way whatsoever, and it's super, super easy to peel off as well. So I line that off on there, and then all I want is a little bit, just hold those pieces on top of each other and lined up against the die where they should be. There we go. Make sure they're not moved around underneath. There we go. And then we want this bit for here. And if you've got a slightly smaller one, always put the smaller one at the bottom, because that's the one that needs to be tighter to the die so it doesn't slip. And you sometimes won't get all of them cut at the same time. I normally have to do like twice. My sister tends to whack everything off and then layer everything on at once. I'm a bit more cautious because, like I said, I tend to make mine slip around and have mine move. Pop that there. Pop that one on there. A little bit more tape. And then it's ready to go, and then all I've got to do is cut these three in just a second. And I am using my extended plates for my die, because this is a longer die than standard. Most of them are sort of this size, so you do need extended plates on these. And then you sandwich them through. If you ever see all this on your plates, do not be concerned. It's only when they completely and utterly start bending and then potentially start cracking that you need to start being concerned and look at getting new ones or replacing them. But you can use them for a long time before you actually have to go through the replacement route. So you sandwich them between there, and then excuse how battered my Big Shot looks. Line them up with your machine. Turn your handle. Normally I use it the other way on my desk, but obviously to show you on camera, just so you can see it going through. Just move that back out of the way so that you can see. Take my plate off and then lift off. To cut, no slippage or anything like that. You do have a little bit waste on this side, but like I said, not as much compared to what you could potentially have. Two nicely cut liddles. Two nicely cut large tails. And then we've got these little bits, and again, if you wanted to, you know, these slightly larger bits, if you've got enough, because like I said, I've got the airing die coming, I can cut them down to size like these little bits, and you'd still be able to get like your 9mm and 10mm circle airings out of those and things like that. So it's entirely up to you whether or not you want to use those scraps or whether or not you would consider them 100% waste. But like I said, that's another thing that you can do on those slightly bigger bits if you're going for minimal waste. Okay, so now we're just going to do the last bit, which is our little mini tails. And I will, on this occasion, because of how soft this material is, let me just make sure, because like I said, they're all different sizes on this. I'm going to trim these a little just to prevent moving. So still minimal, but we are just going to make sure that that's all nicely lined up on there. just had my masking tape. Where have I put it? Literally next to my arm. You know the funniest thing is I've got my glasses on, so how I managed to miss that on my desk, like literally within eyesight, is beyond me some days. So just gonna like I said, make sure that they all line up. Get our plate again, sandwiches it between, move that out of the way, and bring the Big Shot back up. Press that down. I always use my arm like this, get it started, and then roll it through. Now I would say if you're doing multiple sheets, sort of 3 is typically the maximum I would sort of go on any sort of materials. Like your chunky glitter, I would never put more than 2 in, but like I said, on some of these, 3 you can just about get away with without having any slippage or any like issues or anything like that. And then, as I said, 3 nicely cut sets of tails. On this we've got the top layer with the bit of masking tape, and that's all you have to do. Get your nail under, take that off, and again only the teeniest tiniest bit of waste on there. So there you go. Now we shall glue these all together to make our finished projects. I'm going to use this little bit for the centres in just a second. Okay, so we'll start with our large, and then we'll do our layered version, well, our little minis here. Like I said, do play around, because like I said, you might be able to get more if you've got different bow styles and things like that, but this method works for any sort of dies that you've got. If you like cut them out first and then use them to like work out exactly how many styles you can get and what like combinations you want to do as well, it really helps you with your planning, and like I said, causing as little waste as possible. So just take the last little bits of masking tape off this bit, and off the end of that. There we go. Now I've done that one slightly shorter because that one did slip while it was in, but it's fine. Ow. And I will say this, we're in the middle of a heat wave in the UK, and yeah, it is exceptionally warm right now, and the fact that that's the second time I've attacked myself with the glue gun today, it's not good because it feels 5 times hotter than it normally does. And 5 times hotter in the UK in a heat wave doesn't sound bad, because like I said, we're the UK, we only have mild weather, but our heat, when it's like this, because we don't have air conditioning and our humidity and everything else, it is like, until you've been here and lived in the UK, you would not understand how warm it currently is, because my tiny little flat, in winter, to heat it, we only have to put our heating on for half an hour a day. 2 hours if it gets a bit colder, and it heats our entire house for the entire day. So think how good a house like that is for trapping heat in when we don't get any temperature drops during the evening, and you can imagine how warm it gets. It's a good job I've literally got next to no feelings in them anymore, my fingertips and my hands. Otherwise I'd be in a lot of pain right now. And fans don't work, really, because all it does is circulate the extremely hot air around the room. It doesn't actually move any cold air or cool the air down, it just moves the hot area from one place to another. So they're glued. Glue these ones. Yeah, yes, I don't know why I don't do more faux leather bows. If you want to see more, do say, because like I said, I should do more than I do. I just get distracted by ribbon a lot because it's just my personal preference for styles. But I actually do enjoy this. Like I said, it's just I don't like cutting into fabric unless I'm one. It's the same with all materials. I don't like cutting up or like using materials until I'm 100% clear of exactly what I want to do with them. I don't know if any of you are the same. Tell me in the comments if you are. Because if you guys ever saw my hoard, well, I've done a craft room tour. I need to update it since then, but I need to tidy again. My craft organisation never lasts very long at all. My workmates just brought me 4 more storage boxes because he works for Wilco's and they had some that aren't on inventory. So I got like a really good deal on them. So brought me a ton of those, and he's got some more that he's bringing for me for my birthday. Because that's what he gets me for whenever I have that. Always gets me craft supplies for storage supplies for my birthday. Now, sometimes leather to leather doesn't always work, so if you ever want to try this combination, any super glue, strong super glue, with the strip of the hot glue, it just gives it a little bit more staying power. See, because that's already popped. That's fine. So I'll put that there for a second. I'll do a combination across here. There we go. And some of it, they normally stick better. I will say this, it is purely due to the heat in the UK at the minute. It's not, it's normally not as anywhere near like this. And that's the other reason why we don't have things like aircon and stuff, because it is so rare for it to be this level of heat for this level of intensity that the cost of them versus how often we'd need to use them, it's just not justifiable, if that makes sense. Because that's what always confuses people. It's like, why don't you just have air conditioning? It's like, because there's no point in buying these expensive units that we wouldn't be able to, we'd only run for a few times of year, versus the actual cost of them. And then I want 2 longer ones and 2 shorter ones for the centre. You can do these on the die. I tend to do them with whatever little bits that I have left. Just whichever's easier for yourself. Obviously you will get the more uniform cut from the die. That's the whole point of the dies. There we go. So, just had some clips. So I got 2 slightly longer clips for these ones and 2 slightly smaller ones for these smaller ones. Squishy, squishy. nice little bits. Okay, you'll notice I put them so that you can wear them as pigtail sets. You do the clips in the opposite direction, so you have one for the left and the right, and then work out which way you want your centre to go. A little bit of glue, and like I said, if these ever come unstuck, use the super glue with the glue gun combination, and it will help give it grip. But it's what works best for you, because like I said, some glue guns are enough entirely by themselves. Some need that extra little bit of work. So there's one. And there we go, we've got 4 and a bit bows out of this sheet, and like I said, I got 8 including layered out of 2 sheets. So that's quite a lot of bows, like I said, for the value that you pay for them as well, and the quality and the designs that you can get. I can highly recommend all of Sophia Grace's materials. She has an amazing range, and she now does her own in-house printing, so if there's any designs that you can't see on the website that you want to see, all you have to do is ask Tabitha and she'll be able to get you. And the print quality of the designs is absolutely beautiful. Wrap that round. And round. And last little one. So there we go. That's how you work out with your little templates, and like I said, all you need to do is run them through your machine. You only need to do it once if you did it in card. And the other thing is, if you've got like your acrylic sheets, if you have acrylic sheets and you are one for using your canvas bows freehand, I will show you a trick for that to show you how to work out your placement for like folding and things. So that is my next one that I am working on. But look how pretty they are. Like I said, it's such high quality. Even though it is pinchable, it is still solid. It's like it's still a really solid like bow. It's not like floppy or anything like that. It's like a really high quality leatherette. So there you go. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll speak to you all soon.